I came to work in American television some time ago in New York. David Susskind saw my work in England, and he invited me to join him, and that's where I started it. And on a police show, was called, I forget now, New York something or other. It was a detective show with Jack Warden, and very, in those days, very simple show, but it was fun to do, and that's how I started. Actually, as far as doing television in America or television in England, there wasn't a great deal of difference. It was really, you had so many days preparation and so many days to shoot the show, and that varied. Of course, in time, in the early days, it was very short, and then as time went by, we got more days and more time to do it. So it was made it a little bit easier, made it better too, because you could do more. But really, there not much difference. Filming, motion picture, I mean, you didn't have the rehearsal time that you had in television. In television, you usually had, 10 days with the cast in the rehearsal room, and the set was taped out on the floor, and we rehearsed it for 10 days, and then we brought it into the studio, shot it 2 days. That was about it. Crews are crews. I find that, it depends on you. Depends on who leads them, really. I think if you're one of them and, then it's easy. If you're not one of them, it isn't so easy. They don't suffer fools gladly. So you have to really you have to know what you're doing. And luckily, I was lucky because I started off as an assistant director. I started off as a studio manager in television, well, different altogether. And I had a lot of basic training. So I knew everybody's job. And because you know everybody's job, it makes it a lot easier to run a crew. Because you don't ask them to do things that you know they can't do. You just try and plan everything so that it makes life easy for them or within reason for them. And they can be as helpful as they can be because of that. Night Stalker. Well, I was asked if I'd like to do it. That was really it. They gave me the script and said, "Would you like to make this?" So when I read it, loved it. Thought it was a great idea. And then I made it. I mean, that really was how it all happened. It was fairly basic. No, Richard Matheson, yeah. We didn't have a lot of time together. We did talk a bit, and I found him a very interesting guy, and we sort of saw eye to eye on things. And we also had Dan Curtis, who was sort of like, was hovering sort of around. He, as producer, and I think Dan would, I know Dan would have liked to have directed the film himself, and that was always a slight problem. In a horror film, right, there is a scary element, of course there is, and that is, you have the vampire in the dark and all that, and that's sort of a visual. I suppose that's what they mean. But yeah, it was. It's how you tell the story. I think that. I think that film script was so cleverly written that it wasn't. It was a pushover. I mean, to do it was really. I mean, I hope I did a good job, but it was a good script, and I had a wonderful cast and a great crew, and it was adventure. It was a good adventure. We did lots of things. So we had the vampire. I remember we were shooting in Las Vegas, and Dan said, "Why don't we have the vampire walk through the casino?" He was all made up as a vampire. And nobody took a blind bit of notice of him. No, he could have been anybody. And nobody, he just fitted in with the rest of the people there. Nobody cared. But that was really, it was an interesting, I mean, for me, as somebody who came from England and hadn't really had a lot of dealings with Las Vegas, I mean, for me to see that town and how it worked was very interesting.
Car 14, check out.
Everybody was terribly helpful. Everybody, and Jane and I, we learned a lot about gambling from Elijah Cook, one of the cast, who knew quite a bit about gambling and gave us some pointers about how to work the system. Well, Darren, we hit it off. We got on very well together. We did a couple of things together, but yes, we had great respect for each other, and he came very prepared for that character, how he was going to dress and how he was going to look, all of which I must say I 100% agreed with. And we had some problems convincing some people we were right, but we worked out very well. He looked good, and I thought he handled the character brilliantly. Barry Atwater had no dialogue. I think he made a noise once, but I don't think he didn't. He certainly didn't have any dialogue. No. I admired Barry because I mean it was a thankless job, being a vampire and wandering about, wearing very difficult and not easy makeup, and playing this strange character. But he did it in great style, with humour, and he's between us. No, I admired him tremendously. I'm not surprised the movie did well, because it was just a perfect meld of people. We all got along well. We all sort of saw the same thing, how to do it. And there was no argy-bargy, no arguments. You know, it was plain sailing from that point of view. And I managed to make the film the way I wanted to make it, and that was what we did. Yes, I mean there was, if you have a producer who really wants to direct it, it's a problem. And I mean, Dan wasn't always happy, I think, with the choices I made about how to shoot things and all that. But it seemed that in the end it turned out I wasn't too far off the mark. I made it work. I wish, I often say wish I could have perhaps journeyed into the feature film business, but I love television, and I love that to me was worthwhile, because it went to people's living room, it went to people personally at home, which I liked about it. It was sort of like, it wasn't like a mass audience in a movie house. It was people sitting around their own fireplace watching television as a family. And that had a certain ambiance to me, which I liked. I liked being involved in that. I thought that was worthwhile doing. To tell the God truth, I wasn't even offered it. I mean, Dan, who wanted to do the Stalker, then they decided, because of the success of the Stalker, to do it in a follow-up, And then Dan got his way, and he directed the Stalker, Night Stalker. Well, it was a strange story, and interesting story, and it was, if I may say so, it was very well acted. It was a good, solid script, and perhaps it was well directed.